So good morning, everybody. This is the Licensing Subcommittee to be held on the 22nd of January. I am Jill Hollyoak, I'm clerk to the subcommittee, just to advise that we are awaiting one member who is likely to be chairing the meeting. She is on her way, so we are going to adjourn until 10:20. Thank you very much.
So good morning, I'm Councillor Sandra Moore, and can I welcome you to BCP Council's Licensing Subcommittee. Can I ask my colleagues for nominations for chair, please?
I would like to nominate yourselves.
And I'll second that. Thank you, members. Right. So now we go on to housekeeping, and can I ask our clerk to read out the housekeeping notice as to how this meeting is going to be managed?
Thank you, Chair. Please note this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. In order to ensure the meeting is managed effectively, please could everyone present follow these ground rules for speaking. Only speak when invited to by the Chair. State your name before you speak if you have not been introduced by name. If joining remotely, please ensure that you unmute yourself and always turn on the video function before you speak, and then mute your microphone when you are not talking. After each party has made their representation, the Chair will ask each person in turn if they have any questions or comments. However, if at any point you would like to speak again, please raise your hand or use the raise your hand function on Teams. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point along Bradley Road under the flyover. Finally, if joining remotely, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum, and can everyone ensure that mobile phones and other devices, including laptops, are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we can go on to item 2, apologies. Have we got any apologies for the meeting?
So no apologies today, Chair.
Thank you. So item 3, declarations of interest. Colleagues, have we got any interest? I haven't got any.
None here, Chair.
None here, Chair. Thank you. Right, so then we go on to item 4, which is the protocol for public speaking at hearings. A protocol for public speaking at meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee is included with the agenda sheet for noting. Thank you. So then we go on to item 5, which is the Swan Inn, Unit B and Unit C, 29 Old Orchard Pool. So the licensing authority has received an application for a new premises licence for the premises known as Swan Inn, Unit B and C, 29 Old Orchard Pool, and the matter is brought before the Licensing Subcommittee for determination. So now I'm going to ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role. So starting with me, I'm Councillor Sandra Moore, and I'm going to be chairing this subcommittee.
I'm Councillor Chapman Law, and I will be on the licensing subcommittee.
We have also got, oh sorry, I left you out, I beg your pardon.
Hi, I'm Councillor Michelle Dower. I'm a member of the Licensing Committee and Subcommittee.
Thank you for that. My apologies. I was going to say that Councillor Williams was here as a reserve member, but he's just left. We've got Councillor Richardson. She's a reserve member. Clearly, she's not required to participate as we're all here, but she's going to observe for training purposes. But she won't be taking any part in the hearing or in the deliberations afterwards. So then I go on to the officers. So Tanya, want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chair. Tanya Jardine, Licensing Officer, and presenting the report.
Legal advisor.
Thank you, Chair. Joanne McNamara, legal advisor to the subcommittee today.
And our hard-working clerk.
Jill Hollier, clerk to the subcommittee.
Right, and I'm going to attempt to go through the applicant, and I apologise now for my pronunciation, but please feel free to correct me. So we've got a Mr. Surinder Panchal, the applicant's representative. If I've got it wrong, say so.
No, thank you very much. Thanks, you got it right. I'm so pleased.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'm not going to get this next one right, which is the applicant, Pretty Dip Sukadia.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's all right, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for
You
that.
can call it. You can call Dipti if you when we are going.
Pretty. Yeah, that's fine.
I'll call you Pretty. I can manage that.
Yeah, that's easier.
Thank you. We'll go on to the responsible authorities. So we've got Dorset Police. We've got 2 from Dorset Police.
Yes, John Bean, Police Licensing.
Inspector Nick Lee, Neighbourhood Police Inspector for Poole.
Thank you. Environmental Health.
Hi, good morning, Chair. My name is Paul Barker,
Morning.
Environmental Health Officer.
Thank you very much. And I've got other persons, and they're numbered as listed in the appendix. So number 4 was Kelvin Woodward. 5 was Simon Ibel, Fortitudo. We've also got Ethan Brighton and Richard Carr of Fortitudo, hello, also attending to assist as required. Number 7 is Lee Elliott. Number 8 was Andrew Bottin. Number 9 was Christine Bottin, and number 13 was Michelle Long. So before I go through the rest of the procedure, can I check that all persons who've given notice of their intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw representation or wishes not to speak has been identified? Is that okay?
Chair, with apologies, there's an update to the list that I provided you. So apologies for that. Mr. Carr is here to represent Fortitudo, so he will be the person speaking.
You'll be speaking on behalf of Fortitudo. Thank you for that. Thanks. Right, so now I'm going to explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report. Questions of the licensing officer by all parties and members of the subcommittee to go first. The applicant will make their application. Questions of the applicant by all parties, again, members of the subcommittee to go first. Responsible authorities and other persons will make their representations, and then questions of the responsible authorities and other persons, again, members of the subcommittee to go first. So all parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. Other persons, then responsible authorities, then the applicant. So the hearing will then conclude, and the subcommittee will deliberate in private with legal advisor and our clerk present. And notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. So can all the parties confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations? Unless anyone indicates otherwise, I'm going to take that as confirmed. Is that all right? Yeah. And finally, can I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they've already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair, and there will be no cross-examination of parties. Okay, so now I'm going to ask the licensing officer to present the report. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Chair. So the application before you today is to consider whether to grant a new premises licence at Unit B and Unit C 29 Old Orchard in Poole. Personal licence courses submitted application on behalf of the applicant, Swan Inn Limited. The applicant proposes to operate as a pub and restaurant and are seeking to apply for a new premises licence to permit indoor sporting events, live music, recorded music, performance of a dance and supply of alcohol for consumption on and off the premises, Monday to Thursday, 0900 to 0200 hours, Friday and Saturday, 0900 to 0300 hours, and Sunday, 0900 to 0100 hours. And they also apply to permit late night refreshments to start at 2300 hours and terminate at the same time as other licensable activities. The licensing office received representations from Environmental Health and Dorset Police as responsible authorities, and 14 representations from other persons on the grounds that granting the application as applied for would undermine the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm licensing objectives. The Environmental Health Officer has requested that a noise impact assessment be conducted and agreed with the Environmental Health Department, before they can satisfy themselves that the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective can be upheld and they can remove their representation. The licensing department have not been notified that this has been provided. Dorset Police have advised that the applicant has not provided sufficient conditions in their operating schedule to uphold the licensing objectives of prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and prevention of public nuisance. Dorset Police suggested that the supply of alcohol be reduced to terminate at 0130
hours Monday to Thursday and 02:30 on Friday and Saturday, which is 30 minutes earlier than applied for, and also suggested conditions which are attached at Appendix 4 of the report. The licensing authority have not been advised that any mediation has taken place. Members will note that some representations refer to the need for another licensed premises in the area. I would just want to clarify that the issue of need does not fall under any of the licensing objectives and can therefore not be considered under the Licensing Act. Members are asked to consider whether to grant this application, and should the licence be granted and the applicants fail to operate in accordance with their licence and any conditions attached to it, they will be aware that any responsible authorities or other persons may request a review of the licence at any time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Right, so we can ask questions. Members, do you want to go first? Adrian?
I know we had this discussion on email, but just for the recording, the other premises that are nearby, how do their opening times compare to what is proposed?
Apologies. So they do vary. Some of them will stop at 2 o'clock Fridays and Saturdays, and midnight on Sunday to Thursday. That is the latest that we have at the moment. Is 2 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, and it varies during the week depending on what premises.
And have we had any licensing related complaints on any of those other locations?
Not that I have any record of, or anything that has happened recently.
Has anybody else got any questions?
Sorry, Chair.
You were going to ask about Brent.
I was going to do that, please.
No, you want to do it now.
I'll ask him. Do you want to do it?
No, you do it. The previous application.
And yeah,
there was what we were trying to establish. There was a case in 2019 that you brought to our attention. I wonder if you'd like to, say anything about it. Sorry, I think I've got it wrong.
It was just so in relation to the police representations in the papers, there's mention of a matter involving Brent Council back in 2019. Do you have any information about what happened since?
Yes, so I contacted London Borough of Brent, and they've confirmed that after the review, is that the one we are discussing? Yes. So after that review, they received no further complaints. The premises has been transferred to someone else beginning of this year. And as far as they know, the DPS that we have in place is no longer responsible for the premises.
Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Elliott, you wanted to ask a question?
Hello there.
Hello.
Yeah, the reason I think that there hasn't been any sort of issues with the other Soho farm, the Soho bar and
Mr.
grill.
Mr. Elliott, all we're doing at the moment is asking questions.
Right. Okay.
So if you could just frame it as a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah. So. Well, I'll wait for my turn and then I'll come back to it. That's fine.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Mr. Woodward, sorry, I'm finding it difficult to keep track of everybody. So it is a question that you need to ask at this stage. If that's okay.
It is a question, Madam. I'm just interested to know, will the premises have hot food production, or is it just not food? Because I've seen ovens and things being wheeled inside, so I'm wondering what's going on there. Is there going to be any food?
Thank you.
Answer.
Can someone answer that one?
Well, they do have late night refreshments, which is the provision of hot food or beverages.
Yeah.
What they're doing during the day may be something that the applicant or their representative can respond.
Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am.
So if you would like to respond now, that would be good. Mr. Panchal.
Sorry, regarding the hot food?
Correct.
Yes, somebody asked a question regarding the hot food. So if you would like to answer that now, that would be fine.
Yeah, there is a burger bar. If you look at the proposed plan, there is already a burger bar there. So that burger bar is going to be preparing hot food anyway.
I have a question, committee. Will there be any, has there been any provision to abate any cooking odour? Because we don't want to have cooking odours going into the Vespasian and affecting the enjoyment of our outdoor space on the balconies.
I think this part of the meeting is to ask questions to the licensing officer in relation to the report that she's just referred to. If you've got questions to the applicant, then that will come after the applicant has presented their case, if that helps.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're just doing questions to the licensing officer at the moment. Has anybody got any questions now? Just for the licensing officer?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Okay.
So what I'd like to ask the committee, if any of you have actually been down to visit the site and seen where Vespasian...
As I said, it's just for the licensing officer regarding the presentation that she's just made.
Right. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
You will get plenty of time to ask and make representations later, but it's a process and we have to go through it.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm not used to all this, so yeah.
No,
okay,
I know.
Fair enough.
I know exactly how you feel, but it's the way it has to be done. All right. Thanks. I think Mr. Panchal, you have your hand up now.
Sorry, Chair. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I just wanted to ask during the presentation of the license officer regarding the hours of the pub opposite the premises. She mentioned some hours of the pub on the opposite. So can I get the hours, the operating hours of the pub opposite us?
What's the name of the premises opposite? So just so we can narrow it down.
Soho
Bar.
Bar.
Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
Okay, so I confirm that the hours are 10 to 2 a.m. Monday to Sunday. So it's 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday to Sunday.
That's fine.
Is that okay? Okay.
That's okay, Chair.
A quick question. I'm not really sure if this is appropriate or not, but can I understand the circumstances in which the Brent Council premises was left by the did they sell that or was that, how did that end? Sorry, Councillor Dow, I'm not sure what the question is. So when the applicants actually owned the licensed premises in Brent Council, what happened in the end there? Why did he move on from there? Do you have that information?
I don't have that information. Sorry.
Of the licensing officer, yeah. Yes, of course.
Thank you very much for your presentation. If we look at the licensing objectives, could you explain to me why you have not brought up the licensing activities on prevention of public nuisance with the main concern of noise nuisance, light pollution, noxious smells and litter?
I only provided general information as to what the application was. Everything is on the paperwork. So I've only covered, it's just to give an overview of what the application is about. I didn't go into detail at each one that has been brought up, and then it will be for each party to explain why they're concerned and what areas they are concerned about.
I think just to clarify there, the report, as Mrs. Geraldine said, it is an overriding report just encompassing all the information, but the actual representations are exhibited behind it. So it's there.
Through you, Chair, can I just check, Mr. Elliott, you still have your hand up? Is that a historic
Oh,
hand?
sorry, apologies.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. And if you can mute your microphone as well, lovely.
If that's all the questions for the licensing officer, can we now go on to the applicant to make their application? So it's either Mr. Panshal or Pretty, or both.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. I'm going to make the presentation. I'm going to be speaking today on behalf of the applicant, and I'll be answering all the questions related to the premises today. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll be making my presentation. Ma'am, this premises was closed for the last 10 years, as you are aware. There was nobody willing to look at these premises or have interest in it. It was a very prominent pub before in 10 years regarding the local people around there. It is a listed building, and it has been kept as listed, and Mr. Sukhadia's is a family run. It's going to be family run. Preeti is going to be up there as a license holder, and her husband Deep Sukhadia is going to be the DPS running the premises. I am not going to stress much onto the Brent Council's matters, but I will give you a brief idea of what has happened at Brent. They were buying those premises, and during the buying process, if you look at it, the Patels were utilizing the premises, and while the sale was going on, the Patels made the blunder of whatever happened at that premises. And then the premises were transferred to Deep Sukhadia afterwards, and thereafter there were no breaches. Once the premises were transferred to Mr. Sukhadia, there were no breaches, and Brent Council have confirmed to you that. I was present at that hearing at the Brent Council, and thereafter there were no breaches. The premises were run very well with the experience. The Sukhadia family does own another 2 shops in London. I may bring it to your attention that you may not know that. Both the shops are in central London, and they've been there since last 10-15 years, and there were no breaches in that. So that matter isn't brought in front of you, but I'm bringing it in front of you to make sure to let you know that they are very competent. They understand the 4 licensing objectives. They understand the new laws. If you look at the guidance section 182, they do understand the crime and disorder 2.1 right to 2.6, public safety 2.7 right up to matter. And if you look at that after public safety in the guidance right to the public nuisance, they do understand. And I'm going to explain to you how they're going to be robustly promoting the 4 licensing objectives if the license is granted today. Ma'am, so all those matters under the guidance are looked into. The policy of the council, your policy, council's policy, has also been taken into consideration. I've been working with the Sukhadia family, as you've seen, before 2019 and onwards with all the premises. So I understand and I know the people very well. Her husband, Deep Sukhadia, is going to be the DPS, as I've mentioned. They've invested quite a lot of money. Let me briefly tell you that the pub was a £200,000 worth of investment has been put in to refurbish, which the lease they've bought into. I'm not going to mention how much at the moment regarding the shop. I'll come back to you how much investment was put into the shop. We did speak to during the application, we did take into consideration your policy, council's licensing policy. We looked at the other premises. I've just asked you, to the licensing officer, the hours of the opposite pub 10 to 2. Mr. Sukhadia has visited that pub. He's got premises upstairs, which he has lived there to look at the area all the time while the refurbishment was carried out. he has been in contact with the person who owns the pub on the opposite side, which is called Soho Pub. And he's looked at what the local people using that and the people coming in, coming out. So he does have a very good idea of how the pubs are, how the area is and what it is. He has run 3 restaurants in London, which has got late licenses up to 2 o'clock, and has had no problem because we have been involved into those pubs on numerous occasions. We have put down the operating schedule. If you look at the bundle on page 33 in the application, those operating schedule normally becomes the part of the conditions of the license. We've considered how the CCTV is going to work. A staff member premises, if you look at the operating schedule, which I'm now looking at, there will be staff responsible for selling alcohol shall receive regular training. There will be a training manual available at the premises. I have got the training manual. If you get it to see, the training manual will consider a right to work check for all the staff working there, which is very important on these days. All the trainings of the staff will be logged in. The responsible authorities will be able to check those training manuals to see the staff are trained on regular basis every 3 months. There will be a section 57 notice put up in the training manual, which will look at that all the people have been appointed or have an authorization to sell alcohol at the premises. Those notices will be put up. All the posters, considering the section guidance 182, the CCTV posters will be put up. I'm raising all the posters to you to have a look at that. There will be a poster saying, please leave quietly, consider our neighbors. There will be a challenge 25 policy on the premises will be followed. There will be a dispersal policy also in place at the premises. There will be a conflict management course run by all the staff to make sure the conflict management is looked into if in case of problems with that. There will be a refusal book to make sure matters are noted in the refusal book if alcohol is refused. There will be an incident book which will record all the incidents if there were incidents happening at the premises. There will be no alcohol sold, ma'am, if there is no CCTV working. This is part of the regulation of Section 182 guidance. We did have a meeting with the responsible authority on the premises, which I'm sure the responsible authorities will look at that. And I'm going to go back to that meeting, that what we've discussed. If you go on to page there is an email which page 58 and 59 of the bundle that I've got, which refers to the meeting that we had with John Bean, the police licensing officer. A suggestion was put up for the conditions on that on page 59, which was under section 15, the hours of supply of alcohol to be reduced from Monday to Thursday from 2 hours to 1:30. We are happy to consider that our reduction of hours. We have no problems. We will be below, when we consider those hours, we'll be much below to the Soho bar, which is right opposite us, which runs up to 2 o'clock Monday to Sunday, while we will be reducing it to 1:30 hours Monday to Thursday, and we'll be reducing Friday and Saturday from 3 o'clock to 2:30 hours, as suggested by the Mr. John Bean. The premier to be a member of the pool pub watch. We have already attended one of the pub watch matters. One of the staff did go up to the pub watch and did not find.
Vishal.
Vapor went up to that. And on Fridays and Saturdays, at least 2 SIS staff, registered door staff, to be employed at the premises from 20 hours until the premises closes, and all customers have left the vicinity. We are agreeing to those conditions laid out on B and C. During the summer season, the premises license holder shall provide a written risk assessment for the need or not for the employment of SI registered door staff at the premises. If there was a need, the door staff will be employed. For specific events on the quay, such as Baker's Night or fireworks and others, as discussed with the Dorset Police, at least 2 SI registered door staff shall be employed at the premises from 17 hours until the premises close it and all customers have left the vicinity. The premises license holder shall produce a dispersal policy, which I've just mentioned to you, that there will be a dispersal policy present at the premises, which again, the dispersal policies will be discussed with John Bim and the police, Nick Lee, and before the pub starts. So, Chairman, we're going to be getting all that. We are agreeing to the conditions laid out by the police. I would like to apologize to the police for not coming back to their email when we should have, because Mr. Sukadia was away on holiday and came in late and I could not take the instructions or could not get in touch with him. Hence, we could not get back to the police. But I do apologize for that. Now, coming back to the environment, Mr. Paul Baker, I think, is the environment that we're regulated inside and outdoors. There will be no outdoor music carried out. All music will be indoors. And just to let Mr. Paul Barker know that there was Spratt and Hammer is the company that we decided to take the sound insulation test report. So there is a sound insulation carried out. The premises has carried out a sound insulation. So there will be no sound traveling outside the premises because the sound insulation has been carried out while the premises were undergoing refurbishment. So you will not hear any sound outside the premises. That sound insulation test report will be presented to the environment before the premises starts, so they can have a look at that. So, ma'am, we have gone through for so far. We assure the neighbors also that they will not be having any problems considering soundproofing in public. Coming back to the public nuisance, which we are looking at, there is a contract with the refuse collection. There is a contract with the refuse collection. The bins are in place. We will be making sure there will be no noise looking at 8 o'clock. There will be no deliveries coming in and 8 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock in the morning, which is sometimes a nuisance considered in many places, where if deliveries arrive at 8, 9 o'clock, there's tend to have the lorries coming up and making noise, but there will be no deliveries. We are happy to have that condition endorsed on the license. Ma'am, I'm happy to take any questions. I'm happy to take any questions from anybody. And if I can help in making sure that the place is run and robustly promoted in the whole licensing objectives, I'm happy to take any questions or anything that the committee wishes to ask. Mrs. Dipti is going to be the license holder, and Mr. Deep Sukadia, who is also presently residing more than 2 to 3 days at the premises above the flats, will be present at all the times running the premises.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm sure there will be lots of questions, but I'll open it up to members first. Thank you. Members.
So the noise impact assessment, is that an official noise impact assessment, or is that just something that you've had done that's sort of not up to official standards?
It is an official report, and it is carried out by quite a prominent company, Spratt and Hammer, and it is their assessment before while the premises were refurbished. We were making sure that there are residents next door, and we were taking that into consideration. And so to make that into consideration, we made sure the noise insulation is carried out correctly.
Yeah, carry on.
And has that report been supplied to us at the council and Environment and Health?
We could send it to the council and the environmental health. To be honest, Mr. Sukadia's contractors did not send it to the council, but we can send it to the council. The whole report can be sent in.
And lastly, have you added any sound insulation to the property during its refurbishment?
Yes, it has. Sound insulation has been carried out according to that report.
Yeah, just a quick one around the noise from entering and leaving the premises. How is that going to be managed?
Near the glass door. There is a glass door in between. So when you open the first door, you only got the one door. There's one door, but it's a glass door that will control the sound.
Okay, I'll open it up to anybody else that wants to ask a question. Oh, sorry, we've got a legal.
Sorry, Chair, it's not really a legal question, but at page 57, the environmental health representation, they say that they require a noise impact assessment that's been conducted and agreed with environmental health. I just want to double check. Are you saying that you're agreeable to that now that you've had that noise assessment? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we are agreeable because I can read on page 10 of the report. It says the results demonstrate that all of the separating elements tested achieved the sound insulation requirements for building regulations 2010 approved document E2003 incorporating 215 amendments.
No.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. Can I ask whether or not the police or the environmental health have got any questions to ask the applicant? Because that might sort of move us on a little bit further. Inspector Lee, I see your hand raised.
Thank you, Chair. I think the part of the reason that we're here today, we had a site visit, both myself, John, and Mr. Panchal had a meeting on site to discuss some of the concerns we had, and I accept what Mr. Panchal is saying with regards to those recommendations. My concerns, and this will come to a question at the end, Chair, is that this noise report has not been sent to the council. We have identified this issue from Brent Council, which John Bean has emailed Mr. Panchal, and despite numerous emails, we've not had an email even come back to us saying that the applicant was on holiday and so couldn't take any instructions. And as I understand it, the agreement that was made on site for one of the representatives from the business to attend the pub watch, I understand from Mr. Bean was at that pub watch meeting and there was no representation there. My concern is around the lack of communication here presented, and what reassurances can Mr. Panchal give that actually what we're going to be experiencing is more than just words, because at this time I can't see that we're just getting anything more than words from the applicant. So my question is, what reassurances are we going to get that we're actually going to see tangible results upholding the licensing objectives?
Thank you for that. Mr. Panchal, would you like to answer?
Yes, ma'am. We will be available. Sorry, it was just we couldn't take any. I do apologize, Nick. We couldn't take any instructions without Mr. Dipti or Mr. Deep being present. And I tried to get in touch, but we couldn't get in touch. So we were not aware how we would go about till we get in touch. And even the presentations, we could only speak about the presentation of the Brent because we were present there. But we were very much happy to say, yes, they will be following because from their past experiences. But having said that, we are legal. We are representing somebody, and if we don't get the instructions, we cannot move. But now they're back. They've had a holiday to make sure that when they get into these premises, they're going to be very busy. So hence they've taken that long holiday that they wish to take. I think we did when John and Nick had a meeting. Mr. Sukadadi was commenting that he was going away on a holiday. So I do apologize, my apologies, but you will get full cooperation from both of them. You will have full cooperation from us also. We will be representing, and now we've got our hands released to say yes, where you can go ahead with everything. So we will be definitely getting in touch with you all the times. And Mr. Sukadia will be present at the premises more than 3 to 4 days in a week. So you will be getting Mr. Sukadia's attention at all times from the premises.
Thank you for that. I've got 2 more questions, I think. I don't think Environmental Health wants to ask any further questions. Am I right? Yeah. But I've got, sorry, your hand is up now. Beg your pardon. So if you would like to speak and answer the question.
Sorry, Chair, it's a quick one. Environmental Health, we haven't seen this noise impact assessment report. Obviously, we need longer than just, during this meeting to analyse it. I do have one concern in that Mr. Panshall mentioned then that the sound insulation only meets Code E, which is part of building regs. There is no way that Code E is enough to contain the music or the noise from a public house.
Sorry, Paul, I'm not with you. Can you repeat that question?
Sorry, Mr. Panshall, you mentioned, I would like to see the report in full, but a statement you did make that gives me slight concern is you quoted from the passage in the report, I take it. You said that the sound insulation for the premises was enough for me to meet Code E of the building regs.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Well, Code E of the building regs is normally for transmission of sound between habitable premises. Right? Just meeting Code E is not going to contain the noise that a public house will generate. So I've got real concerns about this report. I think we would need to see it before we could, withdraw our representation.
Paul, we're going to, the premises is not ready yet, and we're happy to cooperate with you and to have a look at that sound report that I'm going to be sending it to you today. You can have a look at that.
But Mr. Panshall, you're asking us to sign off on a licensed application today for something that we haven't seen.
This is becoming a bit of a problem. Don't forget to go through the chair, please. So, Mr. Panshall,
Sorry,
would you
Chair.
like to? No, that's okay. Would you like to answer that, or can you answer that?
Well, all I can answer is there is the report was carried out, and the sound insulation were according to that according to the report was sound insulation was installed and has been installed. Hence the sound. The only other option I could satisfy Paul in saying that a sound limiter would also be installed if the premises starts. Now that sound insulation will be controlled by the environmental health, who would come in, set the sound meter, and that would help in making sure the sound does not go out of the premises. The sound installer. I'm confused what it's called, the sound limiter. Sorry, the limiter would be installed before the premises starts. So if that keeps Paul quite happy on that side, I'm happy to send the report, as well as I'm agreeing to put a condition which says a sound limiter will be installed at the premises, which will be controlled and laid out by the environmental health prior to the start of the premises. Does that help you, Paul?
I'm sorry, Chairman. No, that doesn't actually, Mr. Panshall. I'm sorry. For a start off, we cannot, without seeing that report, be convinced that the sound transmission to the buildings that are above the premises, because they're now residential. I've also got concerns about the premises to the back. The Swan Inn used to be called JJ Murphy's, and it hasn't operated as a public house for 20 years. In that time, there's so much accommodation built up around it.
Can I just interject? Sorry to that. It's I just want to be clear that environmental health in your representation said that a noise impact assessment should be carried out and agreed with environmental health. I think the applicant is saying that you're content for that to be a condition.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with
Yes.
that.
So that whatever's produced still needs to be agreed with environmental health.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct?
That's
Does
correct.
that, so environmental health, does that help?
Sorry, Chair, I've still got slight concerns in the fact that you put it as a condition. What happens if we cannot reach noise limits that are acceptable with all the habitable residences around it?
Licensable activity.
It's a condition of the license. So if it's not agreed by environmental health, then to operate would be a breach of that condition.
To operate the regulated entertainment would be a breach of condition, so it automatically does not comply with the condition that is going to be laid out by the committee if the license is approved with that condition. Hence, the premises will run on other activities, but not on regulated entertainment till that regulated entertainment is agreed by the environmental officer. That's a norm with all of the premises that we do. Any condition laid out by the committee has got to be in place before the premises can start.
Okay, thank you for that. So it's making it quite clear that it will be a condition of the license, and the license will be in breach if it went ahead without it. Okay.
That's correct, ma'am. That's correct, ma'am.
So can we move on then to other applicants? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I've got Richard Carr waiting to.
As the committee will know well, in my last life, I was involved in licensed premises. If you look at the license plan before you, there are 3 windows on the front of this building, and there is 1 set of doors. It is impossible to stop noise pollution into the street with that being there. And the point that the environmental health officer makes is that you would probably have sound if this is a bar of somewhere around 98 to 100 dBA, unless there was double doors, unless those windows were all blocked up. There's also a window behind the preparation area which faces straight onto Vespasian, which is only 3 meters away from the rear of this building. So in my opinion, it would be virtually impossible to contain the noise of this building. And lastly, I'd make the point that this building has no outside area whatsoever. We own the land to the east, I suppose, of it, which it is, or the north of it. Fortitudo, yeah. And therefore, where do people go to smoke? They'll be out the front of the building, and the doors will be open regularly.
You need to ask a question.
It's more of a question, yeah.
Okay. Well, my question is,
where will they go?
Where will the smokers go when they want to smoke? How about that?
Yes, that's it.
Outside of it.
Anyone like to answer that?
Yeah, ma'am. We will restrict the number of people moving out of the premises to smoke because we have the SIS staff outside. So we will make sure not more than 3 to 4 people at any one time are outside the shop, outside the premises having a smoke. There is a vast area there, but there will be not more than 3 to 4 people at any one time who would come out to have a cigarette.
Okay. Right, we've got Mr. Elliott. You'd like to ask a question?
Yeah, I would like to. So with I'm just sort of trying to get understand. Obviously, the applicant spent all this money, and they've invested £200,000, but they haven't actually got permission yet. So I'm just a bit confused why they've done that.
Because
what exactly is your question? Why have they done that?
Why have they done it when they haven't got the relevant permissions? Why have they jumped the gun on it, if you like?
I think that's not a question that goes to the licensing objectives that the subcommittee need to consider today.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Bean.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. It was really just to follow up a little bit on what Inspector Lee has said about the lack of communication. as you can see, I sent 2 emails to Mr. Panchal, and although he's said that he tried to get back in touch with me, I've no email response to that. I have no missed phone calls on my phone, and again, you can see that my phone number is there. So the concern, as Inspector Lee has said, and myself, is the lack of communication gives us a lack of confidence in that what may be down there on paper will actually be translated into tangible evidence of good practice at these premises. And I would add no more than that, ma'am.
Is there a question there, Mr. Bean?
No, it was just a statement, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Woodward, your hand is up, I think.
I'll do my best to try and make these questions. So we've got this noise impact assessment report. Does it consider, you may not know, this is for the applicant, low frequency sound, so bass? Because I'm concerned, I'll let you into a secret. I'm also a chartered environmental health practitioner. I do private work, but I've also done other bits as well at local councils around here and BCP. But I'm concerned, but as my fellow EHO here today, I'm interested to know about this noise impact report. Does it consider low frequency bass? Because I've had problems with Soho, the bass from there, and I've needed to speak to the manager and advise them politely that I would be monitoring the sound myself. Because when I arrived in September, it was horrendous. Things have improved. Also, the report, does it consider the residents here? Because I'm fine. You know, I'm going to be 50 soon, but there are elderly residents here as well. So it's the impact on them. And also, does that report, perhaps it doesn't consider odour? Because you talked about burgers and things, but we need to understand the impact of that. I can't see from the rear of my, because I'm one of these, I'm directly opposite, like 2 meters away from the lower ground extension. I can't see any flues. So what's going to happen? Are they going to open the skylights and then all the food? So they're my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Panchal. Can you
Yeah,
respond?
ma'am, there is we're not going to be cooking curries or things like that. It's just going to be a small burger bar, so people can while they're in the pub there, they can order a small snacks, we call it, whereby the snacks will, there is a small girdle up there, and the client, my client, is also going to be making sure if there is an improvement on that, an application will be made at the planning. Again, planning and licensing are 2 different matters, but an application is going to be put into for that. That's the advice we've given to our client. There is also an ice cream counter that we are trying to make sure that local people during the daytime and up to 10 o'clock, the ice cream parlor will be open for people to buy ice cream and that. Desserts for desserts and that.
Right, thank you. I don't think there was anybody else indicating to ask questions like that. I would say that there have been a lot of representations about the noise, and members have heard them, and will be bearing them in mind when we come to consider at the end. So, sorry that we have 1 hand up at the moment. I think it's.
So just to clarify, I've got Mr. Bean. I think Mr. Woodward wanted to come back, and Mr. Barker has also put his hand up again.
Some of them are legacy hands, possibly. I think
mine was a legacy hand. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
So Mr. Barker.
Chair, could I just ask Mr. Panchal to? He mentioned planning. He brought it up. I understand there is a retrospective planning application going through for the extract that you've got at the moment. I'm also aware that you haven't got the correct usage for that building to open a pub or a public house at the moment. Are you intending to apply for those?
Sorry, apply for what? Sorry, Paul.
Mr. Panchal, sorry, Chair. You haven't got the current usage permissions for the premises at the moment under planning? Are you intending to apply for a change of use?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks. So no more hands? It's quite hard to see from here with the screen, but I'm doing my best. Okay, so we now go on to the responsible authorities and other persons to make their representations. So I suggest it's police. Do you want to go first? Inspector Lee, I think you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, it's absolutely as has been made out. Our concerns are solely around the lack of basic communication that concerns me. We have antisocial behaviour in the town centre. I have representations from your fellow councillors regarding antisocial behaviour in quite a small area, town centre area around where this application is based. And given the evidence we've seen from what's happened, I appreciate a number of years ago in Brent, that what we've seen since that's been raised really does concern me as to what we're actually going to see delivered here should a licence be granted for the premises in question. And I think that as I say, the key to partnership working is effective communication, and since that's been raised, we've had far from effective communication. So I've heard nothing this morning that fills me with any more confidence than I had coming into this meeting. In fact, I've probably got even greater concerns now.
Thank you for that. Would anybody else like to make a representation?
Yeah, question for us.
Do you want me? Yeah, okay. So just a question for the police then. Yeah.
So assuming everything else was okay, are you okay with the timings that have been suggested?
In terms of the timings, yeah, I'd like to see them fall in line with other licensed premises in the town. We've got a really effective pub watch, for which I'm very grateful, that supports the licensing objectives. And what I wouldn't like to see is a premises coming along and getting so many of the others haven't. I appreciate that on that site visit, Mr. Panchal has agreed to that. But yes, I'd like to see them fall in line with other licensed premises should this application be granted.
So for this application to go forward, what actions would you like to see out of the applicant in future?
It's very difficult to change what we've seen so far. I think any one of us on this call as professional individuals, if you've been asked pertinent questions by a licensing officer around matters that have gone previously, I think the basic level of communication is to respond to an email. That concerns me. The fact that we're coming to a licensing committee meeting and this is the first we've heard of it concerns me, and I just there's very little that's really going to satisfy me that that this is something that I would be supportive of. I'm supportive of businesses coming into the area. I'm supportive of investment into the area. I think the community needs it, but what it does need is it needs it to be carefully considered and carefully thought out. And there's a lot of things that discussed this morning that that do concern me.
Did you want to ask a question? Does anybody else like to ask a question of the police? The hand, there was a hand, but you've put it down. Yeah. Okay. Right. So other people want to make a representation? Invite the environmental health.
Yes, please, Chair. Firstly, my concerns are that the applicant hasn't shared the acoustic report with us. We've had no time to scrutinise it. I'm not convinced that this premises can contain the level of regulated entertainment, the general noise from the pub. We haven't even spoken about additional plant that the pub will need on the back to function as a public house. We don't know how that will affect the residents to the rear and above. I would like to see more detail before this premises licence is granted, please.
Thank you for that. Members, have you got any questions for the environmental health?
Yeah, I'm not terribly familiar with how the noise abatement stuff works. Can you you mentioned, what was it, a certain level of noise abatement? Can you just fill us in on that just for recording?
Sorry, I'm not quite understanding the question.
So the noise
what?
You want a noise impact assessment, and you mentioned during the when we were talking to the applicant that you were saying that was a certain grade that he claimed. Can you just fill us in on that? I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. When we look at a noise impact assessment, the applicant mentioned that the sound transmission complied with Code E of the building regs. Code E of the building regs is what's normally applied for sound transmission or for sound attenuation between habitable rooms or premises. Code E would not in any way, shape, manner or form stop the noise from a public house going into residences above. I would also like to know if any measurements were done, as in, is it Vespasian? Is that the places to the rear? Was any measurements done as to what the premises would, how much impact the premises would have on them? The whole place is wrapped around now by residential properties. Unless we see this acoustic report and what measurements are actually taken, we can't decide whether or not it's going to cause a nuisance.
So what code level would a establishment like this typically have?
It's not a code, because that's under planning. Right, the code's under building regs and planning. We would look at the acoustic report and see what form of attenuation the acoustic consultants have said it requires. We would then ask for all that attenuation to be put in place before the premises licence is used. I'm still not convinced that they can contain noise from a public house with inside the fabric of that building as it stands at the moment.
Sorry, we were just going through the questions, so we've got a question from our legal advisor now.
Thank you, Chair. Just again, I feel like I'm labouring the point, but I just wanted to establish the position. The applicant has suggested they would agree if a licence were granted, a condition being a noise impact assessment has been conducted and agreed with environmental health. So, Mr. Barker, you saying if that was done, obviously you would need to agree to it. But if a noise assessment was provided that you were to agree to, then any concerns that you may have been reduced.
That's correct.
Should I also, sorry, can I come in, Chair or Ma'am?
It's for questions for Mr. Barker at the moment.
Yes, sorry. My question to Mr. Barker is, in normal circumstances, when we, sorry, I'm not an environmental professional or anything, but when I do premises for the last 20 years, when it comes to any premises which does regulated entertainment, the first thing the environment would ask us is, have you got a noise limiter? That noise limiter is set in by the environmental health officer, who would come in and say, this is the decibels that I want it to happen. And that decibels, if a music is played or a DJ is played, it cuts off at that certain decibel that is required by the normal environmental health officer. Would say we would have 42 decibels or 40 decibels or however you want it, which would be set with the person to make sure that noise does not disturb. Would you not agree to that noise limiter would be put in? A noise limiter is quite an expensive material that is put into pubs, clubs, and normal things where residents are close by, so that residents don't get disturbed. In this case, I've asked my client, the Stuart and Hammer did go up to the flats and everywhere to see if the music was, their measurements for the music was carried out. So would you not be happy with a noise limiter put up if the noise limiter is put up and you set up the decibels? Would you not be happy with that?
Mr. Barker, would you like to respond?
Chair, it's not just the noise levels from regulated entertainment the problem. I've asked for noise limiters to be installed and set levels over the last 20 years in numerous premises. It's not just the noise levels from regulated entertainment that I'm concerned about. I would like the noise impact assessment would have to take into account the plant, as in the cellar cooling, air conditioning units, extracts, the noise from just general people talking in the pub, which, believe you me, is way above 43 decibels. Unless we've seen this and unless we can agree to it, I'm sorry. A limiter just won't cut it at the moment. No, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm a bit concerned when you say that talk from the premises. Well, the noise limiter would
Can I just
automatically.
interrupt? We are supposed to be just asking questions of the environmental health officer.
So, ma'am, I'm asking
Okay.
that. So,
Is this a question?
Yeah, the question is the noise limiter would automatically, that's my answer to my question to Paul is the noise limiter would control that noise automatically.
Would it control? Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
It would control, ma'am.
Well, that's not a question, is it? It's the environmental health officer. We are asking him questions. Okay. Right.
Chair,
Do we
can I just clarify this? Right, a noise limiter. All right, you put it into a public house and you will set a level. The noise limiter, if you stay in the red part of the level that we're in for so many seconds, it will cut power normally to the plug socket that is being used to supply the regulated entertainment. In no way, shape, manner or form will it stop the noise from people talking inside the pub, talking, shouting, laughing, screaming, everything else. It will only deal with the noise from regulated entertainment.
Would this not help if so? Sorry, Paul. Sorry, Paul. Would this not help?
Yeah, sorry. We're asking questions, and what you're holding up a notice and asking the environmental health officer, would that help? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see the notice?
Yes,
Mr.
Chair,
Barker?
I can see the notice, but from my experience, people that have had a skinful of ale are not going to read that notice and take any notice of it, to be quite honest.
These are not first outlet. This is part of this notice, Paul, is part of the guidance section 182. It is compulsory. And again, my client would be talking to people who are shouting to say, hang on a minute, you got this notice, can you please calm down?
Okay, I think we need to move on. We have other hands showing, and I think I've got, is it Mrs. Botton? Yeah. Would you like to ask your question to the environmental health officer, please?
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm hoping this is relevant, but I wondered if it's been taken into account the fact that I believe these premises are going to open at 9 in the morning. So that gives us poor residents from 2:30 a.m. until 9 o'clock a.m. to sleep, because I know for a fact, I've heard food preparation is a very noisy thing. So windows will be open. So people in the flats adjacent to the kitchens are going to hear shouts, laughter. And we're going to have 6.5 hours to sleep at night, which I think is not very good for an elderly person like me, or for anyone for that matter, or for children. And is this taken into account, Mr. Barker? Is it, the whole, I'm not just thinking about the noise level produced by music and entertainment. I'm thinking about the noise level produced during the whole day. And will it, will this be taken into account as well? Thank you.
Mr. Barker, would you like to respond?
Hi, yes. That was the point I was trying to make, that, it's the general noise from the operation of the premises license entirely. We would like to see how the applicant intends to attenuate that from all the residents that are living around. A public house is, by its very nature, is noisy. And there is a lot of residential properties around it.
Okay, thank you for that. Is anybody else indicating? I can't see any hands about the asking questions for Mr. Barker. No, thank you. Right, so is anybody else want to make a representation? Mr. Carr, you would like to speak? Yeah, carry on.
Thank you very much. I'm here today to represent Fortitudo Chair and Committee, and clearly we've invested some £20 million into Poolkey, and a substantial number of the apartments have now been sold. And I'm very concerned that the residents that have bought these flats are going to be very, very, very disappointed. I'd like to come to the prevention of crime and disorder. I personally think this application is completely and utterly inappropriate because the premises does not have the correct planning permission. The premises got planning permission, which we didn't object to, for A1 planning permission on the ground floor. If you look at the licensing drawings that are with you, both of them, I know we're only looking at one at the present minute, they have removed the bin storage. Now, one of the big issues, and I go to Pool Keys Forum, one of the big issues on Pool Key at the moment is the storage of bins. There is no way this premises has anywhere to store bins, and they have removed them without getting the planning permission on these licensing drawings. So these licensing drawings do not conform to the current planning permission. That's the first point I'd like to make. I then want to come to the prevention of public nuisance. I mentioned this earlier. The issue will mainly concern noise nuisance, light pollution, noxious smells and litter. Well, if we deal with noise pollution, we've heard quite a lot of what has been said, and it is also my opinion that it would be impossible to soundproof this building properly. And the other issue which has been brought up is that there would be a substantial amount of plant to refrigerate the beers and other things and drinks like that that would need to be placed on the rear of the building. The rear of the building is directly in front of the balconies of the duplex apartments. It's only, I think, probably a maximum of 3 to 4 meters away. So there is no way that you would be able to soundproof that plant properly because it's so close. We then come on to light pollution. Well, clearly that is something that's going to happen. But the more important thing is noxious smells. Now, I know this probably isn't something for the committee, but even if you were just to have burgers cooking there, the wind is blowing in the wrong direction. Those fumes are going to go back into people's balconies and into their lounges. It is strongly rumoured on the quay that this is actually going to be an Indian restaurant. And now we all enjoy Indian food, but we all know that near Indian restaurants, there is strong odour. And so therefore, I think that the committee do need to somehow take that into account. The last point I'd like to make on this application is with regards to the hours of operation. Now, while we've been sat here, have had some work done by my office. The premises opposite is an anomaly on the quay. How it got that late night licence, I do not know. But I'd just like to read out the closing times of other premises on the quay. JD Wetherspoon's 1 a.m, Jolly Sailor 1 a.m, Lord Nelson 1 a.m, Portsmouth Hoy 10 p.m. closing except Sundays at 7 p.m. for some strange reason. The Custom House 5 p.m, Saint-Tropez Restaurant 6 p.m. and closes at 11 p.m. Pie Pizza closes at 11 p.m. every day. Rockfish Pool Seafood closes 9 p.m. except Sundays at 5 p.m. So these are the licensing times. So the premises directly opposite, which is already causing problems, I might say, because of people in the street smoking, and the noise generally being created in that street, is not, I think, a good indication of the overall closing times in the area. I do feel a little sorry for the applicant because obviously I was once in this business, but we all know, and as the environmental health officer has said, when people have had a few drinks, they go outside to smoke, they will laugh and joke and make a lot of noise. And it will, unfortunately, translate into noise in people's homes, which have, a lot of those people have saved up and bought those homes and moved there. A lot of elderly people have downsized and moved to the quay. So I would say that this application is completely inappropriate and should come back if they get planning permission for a public house, which we obviously will be objecting to very strongly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Are you happy to take questions there from members?
Nothing from me.
No, we haven't got any. Okay, is there anybody else would like to ask questions to Mr. Carr on his representation? So we've got one hand, and that is showing for Mr. Carr, is it, to ask questions to Mr. Carr?
It's a question, but it's also to add to what the information his staff has produced for premises in the neighbourhood, and they're
Would you rather just make your own representation?
Yeah, okay.
This is basically to ask Mr.
Fine,
Carr
no
any
problem.
questions.
No,
Does
I
anybody
don't
want
really-
to ask a question, Mr. Carr? Mr. Panshall, you're indicating you want to ask a question to Mr. Carr.
Yeah, ma'am, my question to Mr. Carl is, would your residents be happy if I today agreed with the clients to reduce the hours from 1:30 to 1 o'clock on Monday to Thursday?
I don't think there's any one thing that can be done that would satisfy the people that have bought inside the Vespasian development. I think there's a whole host of things here. It would seem to me that there is a lot of things that need to be satisfied before this application should be brought back. And I mean, if you could, which I don't believe you can, could soundproof the building and had a specific area for people to smoke that was outside, that was away from the front of the building, as the planning officer, the environmental health officer has suggested. I mean, the Vespasian development effectively goes round the boundary of your premises. I don't think you'll ever get a situation where you will have an area for smokers that the noise won't translate into people's apartments. I think it's very unfortunate, but I think that's true. So I don't think there's any one thing. I think there's a whole host of things possibly, but I wouldn't think that the residents are not going to object. I would have thought that they would want to see you closing at something like 11:30, maybe 12 o'clock at weekends. Very much like the rest of the restaurants and the rest of the businesses on Poole Quay. Thank you.
My question to you is, you mentioned that all the other places around close at 1 o'clock. So my satisfaction or question to you is, are you happy if we were to, if the police's request is 1:30, we're happy from Monday to Thursday to reduce it to 1 o'clock, because the matter is in place. Regarding the noise, I'm going to discuss with Paul later on, and with the condition that there will be a sound limiter that we will be putting in, and that will create no sound coming outside. The decibels, because there are motors and vehicles going around. There are a lot of questions that the planning, but planning is not a matter for the licensing today. So I'm not, but I'm assuring Paul that we'll be looking at that. But I'm coming back to you to say that will reduce half an hour Monday to Thursday, which you are concerned with.
I think that question is a question for the residents. Without wishing to sound selfish.
I'm asking in your representation, are you, as you're concerned that all of the premises are closing at 1, if we were to close at 1 o'clock
Are you
on Monday
making a
to Thursday?
proposal, Mr. Panshall?
Yeah.
Are you making a proposal to reduce the opening hours?
I'm making a proposal for Monday to Thursday, ma'am, Monday to Thursday, as he's saying that all the other premises
Write it down.
are open till 1 o'clock. I'm happy to go with him to say, okay, we'll satisfy you if we were to close at 1 o'clock Monday to Thursday. Not Friday and Saturday. I'm talking about Monday to Thursday.
So Monday to Thursday, you want to reduce the hours to 12?
Yeah, I'm happy to reduce it to 1 o'clock. I've taken instruction from the client here. Monday to Thursday.
Thank you.
So, Monday to Thursday.
My personal view is the answer to that question, from my personal opinion, is no, because I don't think it's any one factor that needs to be taken into consideration. This, as I've said, my personal view and Fortitudo's view is this application needs to come back at a later stage once you've satisfied environmental health, the bin situation, and everything else. And I don't think just dealing with one thing is chipping away like that is the way that I would personally be happy to go along with.
I agree what you're saying, Carl, but again, that matter is for the committee now to decide. But what I'm asking you is your concern regarding the hours that you were talking about regarding other premises down there, which you were making getting your concerns that we are concerned that it's going
Mr. Panshall, you're just meant to be asking questions of Mr. Carr.
I'm asking a question, ma'am, to Carl to say, would that help you
Would
in
that-
one of his representations?
to
No.
reduce the hours?
No, yeah.
And he's just answered you no,
Okay.
basically.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. ma'am.
Right. Has anybody else got any questions to ask Mr. Carr? I don't see any hands. Okay. So does anybody else want to make a representation? So we have 2 hands. Mr. Woodward, I think you were first.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so just to expand on my representation, I'm not going to read that because it'd be wasting time, but there has been comparison this morning with Soho Bar. Now, in terms of its noisy operations, etc. But I don't know if you know, but yes, it does have this late night operation. But presently, well, since I've been here since September, loud music is only played Friday night until Saturday morning to 2 a.m. and the same for Saturday. Any other days of the week, it's silent. I mean, they probably are still open for business, but there's music, no more music at those other times. So really that's the point I'll expand. And also within my representation, there's quite a lot of talk on this sound limiter, but sound limiters, I mean, I'm using my professional experience now, they're pretty much useless. They don't future-proof the premises. As the EHO here today, Mr. Paul has talked about, need to go beyond that, more proactive. So sound limiters are just a very reactionary tool. They don't really do much. And then also, they need to be serviced. If you've got insulation in place, or even if you prevent the activity in the first place, it's much more of a future-proof, sustainable option. So they're my additional comments to my representations. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members, have you got any questions for Mr. Woodward? Has anybody else got any questions for Mr. Woodward? No, I can't. Sorry, nobody's showing. Thank you. Right. So I think I've got Mr. Elliott. You want to make a representation?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really au fait with all these sort of procedures, but I just want to get out there that I'm totally against this proposal. I mean, I can sit on my balcony and toss a coin and it hit the back of this proposed nightclub, because that's effectively what we're talking about. And I just think it's absolutely outrageous. When I bought my flat, I was told that the Swan was going to be converted into flats, which is clearly not the case. And I just want that to be heard. I've got total, we all know what the drinking culture's like on a Friday and Saturday night up and down towns and cities. You've got shouting, swearing, you've got people urinating in the street, you've got violence, people, having fights. This area is now a residential area. The Soho Bar and Grill, I can actually hear bass from there still, and that's right across the other side of the street. So for this actual application to go ahead, I just think it's absolutely outrageous, and I want that to be noted, please.
I think we've noted that. Thank you.
Good.
Members, have you got any questions? Yes.
I used to live in Ferndale opposite the nightjar, so I feel your pain. How often are you hearing noise from, just as the guide?
Okay,
how often
yeah,
are you
so
hearing noise from Soho?
So I'm not there all the time, but I go there weekends, and I have to put earplugs in my ears because of the bass vibration. So it's pretty bad. I mean, we haven't yet. I've been talking to the landlord, and he's very accommodating, trying to obviously turn the noise levels down. But yeah, I mean, that's not to do with this application. But then, this application is literally attached to Vespasian. I just can't believe that anyone thinks that's fair. I could sit in my bedroom and I'm staring right. I could flick a coin and hit a nightclub. Yeah, it's totally outrageous. I just can't
Thanks
believe
for
it's
that.
actually being, you know, it's even being a sort of considered, really.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, but we are going through the process now.
Yeah.
Michelle?
And can I just make one other point that Mr. Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. I was just going to ask whether or not there were any more questions because I can see a hand. That's Mr. Woodward.
Yeah, it's just to add about the Soho. Things have improved, but we've needed to do quite a bit of work to get there.
Yeah, it meant to be asking a question.
Yeah,
yeah, no, I understand, and the landlord of the Soho is accommodating, and he is working with us to try and. But you know, he was there. This is a new development. He was already there, and Vespasian was built when he was trading, so that is slightly different. But you know, going forwards, this is I just can't see. I mean, Mr. Surinder said that they're going to sort of stop people, get people going out of there 2 and 3 at a time to have a cigarette. That's just not going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen, especially when people have had a drink inside them. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to say.
Yeah. Thank you for your. All I would say is that there have also been a number of representations from other people who aren't attending the hearing, which the subcommittee has read. Yes, I read them earlier, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. So does anybody else want to make a representation?
So, Chair, just to assist, we have also on the call Andre and Christine Bottin, who made a representation and indicated that they wanted to speak at the meeting, and also Michelle Long. So can we just, on behalf of the subcommittee, ask, do you want to say anything at this point?
Yeah, we did actually indicate that we did want to speak. We just said we wanted to be present at the online meeting, and I haven't got anything more to say except that I agree totally with Mr. Elliott, and I'd like to just reinforce the fact that I'd love my grandson to be able to come here, and if there is a nightclub, loud music, litter, bad behaviour, I really would feel very disinclined to bring him here. And I feel for any children living in the flats, if there is going to be that sort of venue created in the area, I feel for the mental health and the just it's not a good example to set to children, basically. So, but we didn't have anything more to add, did we? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
And Michelle Long, did you have anything you wanted to say? You're on mute, sorry.
So yeah, I live in the apartments behind as well. So obviously my concerns are the same. Obviously the noise and you know the behaviour, violent behaviours. Obviously, I agree with Lee as well. And all the residents is really, really disappointing if it, you know, if it goes ahead.
Thank you for that. Is there anybody else that wanted to? Your hand is up again, Mr. I think it's Mr. Woodward. Mr. Elliott, sorry.
Oh no, sorry.
It's a legacy hand. Yes. Thank you. Okay, so I'm now going to give an opportunity to sum up. So the party who spoke last to go first, but if you don't want to sum up, you feel you've said enough, that's absolutely fine. Does anybody else like Mr. Carr or any other representation want to sum up?
Yes, I will take the opportunity if I may. Just to re-emphasise the issue with regards to waste. I do think that's a really important point, and that this current premises does not have the correct planning permission, and therefore I personally believe that this application should be refused and looked at again once the planning permission, the correct planning permission is in place, because I think it's highly unlikely that the correct planning permission, which is E-class, I believe, will be granted. And I do believe that the modus operandi of the applicant is to get the licensing, and therefore to say to planners, well, licensing granted the license. So therefore they see it as a premises that is suitable for the use that we're applying for. And I believe that weight should not be given at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Does anybody else want to sum up other than the responsible authorities? I'll come to them in a minute. No. Okay. So do you want to go to environmental health? You've said quite a lot, but if you've got anything to add, you're welcome.
Hi, Chair. I mean, I've made my concerns regarding the issue of noise from the premises perfectly clear, I think. Environmental health cannot support an application for a licence whereby we cannot rule out the fact that they're going to cause nuisance to residential properties in the area. I would like to point out that Mr. Carr mentioned, and I know this planning should not be a rerun of licensing, but I think it's relevant in this case. It does have Class E usage at the moment. What it doesn't have is sui generis. And sui generis is the class under planning that allows it to become a nightclub or a public house. There is currently a retrospective plan application going in for the extract. The reason I didn't mention that is because I didn't want to tie up the two noise impact statements, one for licensing and one for planning. We are fully aware that the extract is going to cause issues too, but we're dealing with that at a planning stage initially. That's everything, sorry.
Thank you for that. Right, so we go on to the police. Either of you want to sum up, please?
Nothing from me, thank you, Chair.
Okay, so finally we go to the applicant. Do you want to sum up, please, Mr. Panchal?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm going to be summing up quite a bit because when I say quite a bit means I've just had the client ring the planning application which was put in before, and it has been come to us today that the planning is approved before the work was started. So I can assure you that the planning was there. Ma'am, I've also been very close touch with the Darkest Before the Dawn, which is a committee which is called Nighttime Industries Association in the country. And the government presently is looking into the nighttime economy, whereby asking the licensing authorities and everybody to take major impact on how it would be run and what it would matter. Here we are in a similar situation yet. We are waiting for the local governance to be introduced regarding the nighttime economy that we were with. Pool is again in part of the nighttime economy when I've looked at it. And you will very soon get about the nighttime economy, how and what. And we are following the same thing because I'm aware of how nighttime economy is going to be put forward to. We will be providing mobile numbers if required by the neighbors and that, which again, you heard from one of the objectors that he normally rings to the Soho pub to ask him to reduce the noise levels when there is music loudly played. We're not going to be playing music during Monday to Thursday. We're going to be playing music Saturday, Sunday. Yes, we have a reduced hours compared to Soho. Soho closes at 2 o'clock. We've agreed to close at 2:30, but music will stop at 2 o'clock. And we will make sure the music isn't very loud. We will be providing the sound limiter, which again, in normal circumstances, sound limiters are the major issues we have in the nighttime economy, which is part of the nighttime economy. So we are cooperating. This was a pub before. It had a license before in the pub. So we're not doing anything new. All we're doing is we're making sure that we are running it as a pub. We're trying to make sure that we are going to attract these neighbors. We would like the neighbors to come up. We're not cooking, as you heard in some of the representations, that there will be Indian food. Yes, people love Indian food. I'm glad to hear that. But again, it is not going to be an Indian food on a curries or that we are cooking. We're going to be cooking snacks for people to come into the pub. Snacks like burgers, chips, wings, things like that will be cooked for people while they are drinking, because it is necessary again in the nighttime economy to make sure people like Subways and all that open late, because people come out of the pubs so they can have food. Food is vital when people are drunk. Food is very vital to stop the the liquor to take effect to one's brains. So, ma'am, we are doing everything that we can. We will be making sure the 4 licensing objectives are going to be robustly promoted. We have invested quite a lot of money in making sure things are in place, and we've just had a call from the architect to say that the planning permission has been approved, and I can go through with that planning permission, which is approved. Planning and building consultancy, it was approved on the grant of planning permission, which was approved. I'm just looking at the date, but there is a letter here from the planning department, Borough of Poole. So I can send that copy or forward that copy if you want, but we've asked the thing. So that planning permission has been approved for Swanin Old Orchard, description of development, change of use from D1 museum to A3 restaurant. So it has also been changed to A3 restaurant. So that planning permission has already been approved, and we have an approval in front of us just now that we asked for. So, ma'am, we are trying to be cooperative. We are also saying to the neighbors, yes, we are looking at what your presentations are. We're happy to even reduce further from what the police licensing officer are asking, from 1:30 to 1 o'clock Monday to Thursday. I again stress Monday to Thursday. We are happy to reduce it to 1 o'clock, and we are happy to provide our telephone numbers or mobile numbers for the DPS and the manager present at the premises, so that they can have the numbers to say if the music was loud, to reduce it. But again, the limiter will limit the music according to the environment. The limiters are set by the council environment officer in conjunction with the premises, that this is the amount of new noise which should travel or be travel from the premises. So, ma'am, we are being very cooperative, so we feel that this license be granted today. I'm sorry, I've just seen poll makers raise hands, but I don't know if we would like question to be answered.
Mr. Barker, your hand is raised. Did you want to add anything to your summing up? Or
It's not so much my summing up, Chair. I'm a bit confused. The applicant says he's just been granted planning permission, but Environment Health had a statutory consultancy under that planning permission application, and we haven't been told any approval has been given for it. Could he outline what planning permission he says he's been approved for?
A1 to A3, from A1 to A3. A1 to A3.
A3.
So we have got some planning permission granted then.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Carl has actually got a copy.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, so that concludes your summing up.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So I think now I'm going to conclude the hearing, and at the very end of this meeting, the subcommittee are going to adjourn in private with the legal advisor and the clerk to deliberate, and the decision is going to be conveyed to you in writing, as I explained earlier. At the moment, I'm going to adjourn this meeting for a comfort break, but anyone attending the next hearing, can I ask you to leave the meeting or the Teams call for the adjournment and rejoin in say 15 minutes, I think. But anyone not attending the next hearing, can you leave the Teams call? And if you want to follow the next hearing, it's going to be broadcast on the council website. But I'm just going to adjourn now for a comfort break. Right, so we continue now with item 6, Swan Inn Food and Wine, Unit A, 29 Old Orchard Pool. So the licensing authority has received an application for a new premises licence for the premises known as Swan Inn Food and Wine, Unit A, 29 Old Orchard Pool. The matter is brought before the licensing subcommittee for determination. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to go right back to the beginning and go through all the introductions, etc. It's all part of the process, I'm afraid. We can't miss it out. So I'm now going to ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role. So I'll start with myself, Councillor Moore. I'm chairing the subcommittee.
I'm Councillor Chapman-Law and I am a member of the subcommittee.
And I'm Councillor Dower and I'm a member of the subcommittee.
Right, so well, we can now go over to the council and our licensing officer. They're not here.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, when I said that, I meant we haven't got any reserved members because they're gone.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Tanya Shurdeen, Licensing Officer, presenting the report.
Thank you, Chair. Joanne McNamara, legal advisor to the subcommittee today, and our clerk.
Thank you. Jill Hollyoak, clerk to the subcommittee.
Thank you. And our applicant, Mr. Panchal.
Yeah, sorry, ma'am. I'm
You
Mr.
just
Panchal.
introduce yourself. Yeah.
I'm Mr. Panchal from PLC UK Limited. I'll be representing the applicant.
Thank you. And I've got Mr. Bean and Inspector Lee, Dorset Police.
Yes, John Bean, Police Licensing Dorset.
Nick Lee, Neighbourhood Inspector for Poole.
Thank you. And other persons, you're numbered as listed in the appendix. I've got one, Simon Eibel. No, he's not. Sorry. It's just Mr. Carr. Yeah, we've updated since we printed these and I haven't picked it up. Sorry. So we've got Mr. Carr, who's here in person. And we've also got number 2, which is Kadir Korechi. Is that right? Yes. And number 3, Yuri Emelov. Are you on the call,
Correct.
Mr. Emelov? Yeah.
No, I'm here. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super. Thank you very much. So before I run through the procedure, can I check that everyone who's given notice their intention to speak have been identified? Yeah. And anyone who wishes to withdraw representation or wishes not to speak have also been identified. Okay, if there's no comments, I can take that as correct. Right, now I'm going to explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. I apologise to everyone who was here earlier, but as I say, I've got no choice. It's a separate application. So the licensing officer presents the report. When we take questions of the licensing officer by all parties but members of the subcommittee to go first, the applicant will then make your application, and then questions of the applicant by all parties and members of the subcommittee to go first. Responsible authorities and other persons will make their representations, and then questions the responsible authorities and other persons, members of the subcommittee, again to go first. And also to note that there's been other representations from one other person's not attending the hearing, which the subcommittee has read. All parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. Other persons, then responsible authorities, then applicant. The hearing will then conclude. The subcommittee will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and the clerk present. And notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. So can I ask everyone to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations?
Yep.
If everyone's okay, I'll take that's confirmed. Finally, can I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they've already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. And all questions are to be asked through the chair, and there's quite a few of you, so I know this is not easy. but and again, there's to be no cross-examination of parties. Right, so now I'm going to go on for the licensing officer to please present the report.
Thank you, Chair. Personal licence courses submitted application on behalf of the applicant, Swan Inn Food and Wine Limited. The applicant proposes to operate as an off-licence and convenience store and has applied for a new premises licence to permit the off-sales supply of alcohol Monday to Thursday, 0600 to 0000 hours, Friday and Saturday to 0600 to 0100 hours, and Sunday 10:30 to 22:30 hours. The licensing office received 1 representation from Dorset Police as a responsible authority and 4 representations from other persons on the grounds that granting the application as applied for would undermine the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the prevention of public nuisance licensing objectives. Dorset Police have suggested the supply of alcohol be reduced to terminate at midnight on Fridays and Saturdays, and that conditions relating to SIA registered door staff, training and ABV percentages be added to the licence. Members will note that the proposals in the email representation from Dorset Police, which forms part of the report at Appendix 4. Members will note that some representations refer to competition and the need for another licensed premises in the area and its detrimental effect on other businesses. I would just want to clarify that the issue of business competition or need does not fall under any of the licensing objectives and cannot therefore be considered. We received no other representations from any other persons or other responsible authorities. Members are asked to consider whether to grant this application, and should the licence be granted and the applicants fail to operate in accordance with their licence and any conditions attached to it, they will be aware that any responsible authorities or other persons may request a review of the licence at any time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Right, and I'm going to go on to questions of the licensing officer, starting with members of the subcommittee.
Same questions before. Are there off licenses in the area? What time are they closing?
So I'm doing a quick check of our records. There are 4 premises with off sales facilities as an off license or shop, and the 2 of them close. These are the hours that are permitted under the license. Whether they carry those hours or not, stop earlier, is a different situation. So their current license hours are for the supply of alcohol. 1 is midnight, 1 is 24 hours, and others are 2300 hours. Okay, so I've got 2 that finish at 11 p.m, 1 that finish at midnight, and 1 that is currently licensed for 24 hours. Many times they don't use them, but they are licensed for that. I hope that clarifies.
It's gone. No, it's gone.
I do, yes. Just to follow on from Councillor Chapman-North's question. So I note that the applications for these are to open at 0600 hours in the morning. And what the current premises that are in that area, similar shops of licenses, what time are they opening?
Okay, so same. There is only 1 at the moment that opens at 8 o'clock. From those 4 that I mentioned, 1 is 24 hours, as I mentioned, and the other 2 are 6 o'clock. Okay, and as I say, those are the hours that they're licensed. They might open later, but those are the licensable hours.
Thank you. Do you want to carry on now?
Yes, well, I remembered. So are they the same? Those 10 and so the 11 and midnights, are they 7 days a week? So there's nothing that opens opens till 1, and they're all the same time.
This is Monday to Sunday.
Right.
So 6 a.m. to 11, one of them. 6 a.m. to midnight, another. 24 hours, another. And the last one is 0800 to 11. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, you've finished? Yeah, okay. Right, the legal advisor wants to ask a question.
Yes, just to clarify, references made to incident at Brent Council back in 2019 when the licence was subject to review. Have you been in contact yourself with Brent Council? And if so, could you just update us?
I have. So I made inquiries with Brent Council, who have confirmed that following that review, no further complaints were received. and that the premises has now been transferred to someone else. And as far as they understand, the DPS that the person that's applied to be DPS for this premises license has nothing to do with the premises.
Thank you. Right, so if I can now ask the responsible authorities, police, environmental health, whether or not you've got any questions for the licensing officer at this stage.
No questions at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Nothing? No. Okay. Right. So open up to other persons, whether or not you've got any representation questions for the licensing officer. No, nobody's indicating. That's lovely. Okay. So now we go on to the applicants. Mr. Panchal, you want to make your application now?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm going to repeat the same application again because I'm now with the off-license application. But I would like to bring to your attention that Pretty Deep is the license holder. She has held the personal license since 2019. She understands the 4 licensing objectives. And she is going to make sure under the guidance section 182, she's going to be making sure the licensor is robustly promoting the licensing objectives. She has had experience running the 2 shops in London, which is presently running, and she is the license holders for both the shops and the DPS for the shop. The shops have had no problems for the last 10 years. They were robustly run. Chairman, sorry, ma'am, sorry. This pub was closed for the last 10 years, and the Sukodia family found an opportunity to bring that to lively, and they've done so. They will be having a training manual. They will be having all the necessary posters required by the guidance section 182. They will be following the Challenge 25 policy, which will be in place. They will also be having SI staff. I'm going to go through with what we have discussed with the responsible authorities. Ma'am, I would like to bring to your attention there is only one responsible authority that has objected today. First of all, I'd like to apologize sincerely to both the responsible authorities, John Bean and Nick, for not coming back to it. It isn't in my format not to come back to people, but in this case, I would not like to discuss further about how businesses work in our case, but we do have to wait sometimes for the applicants to come back to us and before we can proceed further. And there were other matters that I don't want to discuss in business terms that we were waiting before we could go further and talk to you people. But we could discuss this in a private matter some other day. But may I bring it to your attention that yes, it's our fault we did not come back to you, but we would like to. That was a very fruitful meeting that we had at the shop. I understand that you put down the conditions. If you look on page 93, appendix 4, we have no objections to any of those conditions put up as an operating schedule. We are happy, and the increase of the section 3 of that same, sorry, it's the second one, section C, which says no high-strength beers, lagers, and ciders above 5.5. ABV shall be stocked with the exception of premium beers that shall be removed from immediate customer access. Ma'am, we're happy to have that. I was speaking to the applicant, and although they don't have this condition in one of the shops in central London, but they do not stock above 5.5, making sure that the street drinkers do not have access to high strength beers. So we're happy to have that condition, ma'am, if the license is granted. In this case, my clients have spent about 70 to 80,000 pounds in investment regarding the shop, And ma'am, I'm happy to take any questions if there are, because I haven't got anything further that I can say onto this. But we will be having an SIS staff separately, as we discussed with Nick and John Bean. My clients have agreed to have a separate SIS staff because I understand that they didn't want the staff, SIS staff, to run around in the pub side and the shop. So we will be having a separate. The other consideration that we are giving to these premises is we will be bringing down the opening hours to run Monday to Sunday, instead of 1 o'clock to midnight. So we are happy to reduce those hours to midnight. So, ma'am, there's nothing much I can say. I've said to you how robustly, and you understand from the previous hearings that how robustly the premises is going to be promoted.
Okay, thank you for that. And you're happy to take questions. So I'll ask members, have you got any questions for Mr. Pancho? No?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Carry on.
Obviously, with other premises nearby closing at 11, would you be willing to come back to that?
We would. We will entirely be at your mercy, but we would prefer that now that we've reduced from 1 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and there are premises, as you've seen, you heard from the license officer, there is a premises which is 24 hours, there's a premises which is up to 12 o'clock. So and we would prefer if we would get up to 12 o'clock to be into the line of the other premises, like the 24 hours and the 12 o'clock. We would prefer, but again, we are at your mercy. If you feel like, we will leave that for your decision.
Okay, thank you. No further questions? Right. Police? Oh, sorry. Before I come to Dorset Police, I've got a legal advisor who wants to ask a question.
Can I just ask the applicant about the SIA? So page 93 of the report, that's listed what the police have suggested that they would like if a licence was granted. And point A is the employment of SIA registered door to be risk assessed by the premises in consultation with Dorset Police. You then made reference to agree for a separate SIA from the adjacent premises. So I'm just a bit confused what you're saying, that what term are you offering up in relation to that?
Ma'am, we've discussed with the police in this case, and if you look at what the police are saying, the employment of SI registered door staff to be risk assessed by the premises license holder in consultation with the Dorset Police. So we will be risk assessing the premises, right? What we've heard from from Nick and John Bean, that there are premises where you see robberies happening very often, and if that happens regularly, or that starts happening, we will consult the Dorset Police and immediately employ an SIS staff to make sure that doesn't happen. So it is in consultation with the Dorset Police how we would be employing the SIS staff, but we will be working along with the police in this case.
So the risk assessment is the important part of that.
Important part of it, that's correct.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So can I ask Dorset Police if you've got any questions for the applicant?
Chair, at this time, we won't be asking any questions. We'll simply move to make a representation later on in the meeting.
Thank you for that. So are any other members present likely to want to ask a question? Mr. Carr? I'm only looking at you because you're in the room. Yeah, that's fine. Everybody else, no further questions, there's no hands. Okay. So if I can then go on to the Dorset Police to make your representation, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for slight repetition from the previous meeting. The reason we've moved to come before the committee today is due to that lack of communication that we've had, and I appreciate Mr. Pancho's explanation for that, save for the fact of a basic email covering off that their client was away and couldn't take representation would probably have satisfied some of our concerns. Clearly, there were matters that were raised around and some eyebrows raised around what's happened up in Brent, and I think that then that lack of communication afterwards was a concern, certainly for myself. I appreciate that necessity is not something to be considered. However, crime and disorder and the impact that this may have on young people is a licensing objective, and I think it's remiss of us not to consider the impact that yet another business would have on those licensing objectives. So just to be clear, that's not about a need for another one. However, that is the impact that it may well have. As the neighbourhood inspector for Poole, I am aware of antisocial behaviour and crime and disorder within the area and within the town centre area. I've had representations from your fellow councillors around antisocial behaviour and shoplifting. Just to point of clarity, Mr Panchal said, I know this meeting is accessible to the public. Dorset Police has not expressed concerns around robberies. Dorset Police has expressed concerns around shopliftings. So just to be really clear around to make sure that we're not increasing the fear of crime. We have had a site meeting with Mr Panchal. We've seen the premises. I requested a visit by the Design Out Crime Officer from Dorset Police. She has attended. She has made some representations that would be classed as good practice for site security. I think the one thing that an observation that I would make, if I may, is around the lack of the ability to see into the premises from the outside. There's a set shelving that covers up the window, which we appreciate is good practice to have the spirits behind the tills and stored securely. However, what that does come with is the fact that that window does cover up being able to see into the premises as to exactly what's going on. So it is very much appears more of a behind closed doors from the outside. It's very difficult to be able to effectively manage what is going on inside the premises, and I'd ask that that is just a consideration moving forward. Poole Town Centre does have quite high levels of street homelessness, and some of what came out from the information from Essex concerned me regarding selling of alcohol into to the street homeless community, which we do see a link with as alcohol as a contributing factor towards some of that antisocial behaviour and crime and disorder. And just going back to the original reason as to why we're here, it's that reassurance over that fit and proper person to be able to run that business in line with our licensing objectives and to minimise the problems. We are very supportive of investment in the town, very supportive of businesses coming in and trying to enhance the area. And I think that was made very clear when we did that site visit. The concerns have been raised to the point that we are here today because we could not be satisfied prior to coming here that actually what we were seeing, what we were being told was actually going to be transitioning into tangible results.
Thank you, Inspector Lee. I'm happy to take questions now, members. Okay, does anybody else want to ask any questions of Inspector Lee? No. Right, so I'm going to have to go on then to other persons who would like to make a representation. Mr. Carr, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to bring up about the planning because in the break I managed to get a copy of the planning permission, which was dated 29th of the 4th, 2022. The planning permission grants for 3 self-contained flats on the upper floors, which I believe, I'm led to believe, have been fitted out and are up there, and for commercial space on the ground floor. This part of the ground floor does actually have planning. The other part has got planning permission for a restaurant, not for a bar or a nightclub. So that just clarifies that one point, if I may. I'd like them to go on to the prevention of crime and disorder. And of course, I'm here again representing my investment in Poole Key and Vespasian. And we've heard from the licensing officer that that there are four other, and obviously from the council, there are four other off licenses in the area. And I know that in itself is not one of the considerations. However, one of the considerations is when you're competing against Sainsbury's, Tesco, a 24-hour licensing, how do you get a sales advantage over those other places? There is only one way: discounting. And I noticed on the where was it, Brent review on one of the visits that they were selling the following products. Not that I'd ever heard of them: Dragon Stout at 7.5%, Guinness Foreign Nigerian Export at 7.5%. These products were for sale at £1.50. And that is something that does concern me, because what is going to happen here is, for this business to be successful, it's got to compete with those other off licenses, which are all very close by. I mean, the Tesco's is about 100 metres around the corner. The Sainsbury's is 200 metres up the road, and the 24-hour one is just by the high street, I believe. So I do think that that is something that would need to be conditioned with the strengths of beers and minimum pricing, perhaps. But that is obviously something for the committee to decide on. The next point I'd like to bring forward is the prevention of public nuisance. Now, unfortunately, off licenses that are open late at night are going to be frequented by people who unfortunately live on the streets, probably be frequented by people who are going to the licensed premises across the road. They go and buy themselves a small bottle of Bacardi, stick it in their pocket so they don't have to pay the prices of the bar. And so therefore, I do believe that this is going to create a public nuisance. Other than that, I haven't really got anything else to say with regards to this application, but those are the points I'm making, and I hope they're helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. I hope you're happy to have questions, members. No?
Fine, yeah.
Right, is there anybody else? Dorset, please, do you want to ask any questions?
No, thank you.
No? Nobody indicated. That's fine. So does anybody else want to make a representation? Because we've got Mr. Korechi and Mr. Emeloff. Do you both indicated that you wanted to speak? I think you're on mute. There's so many buttons you've got to press when you're online. I'm sorry about this.
Hi. So, as the officer said, there is already 4 stores in the 300 radius around the area. So I don't really see any necessity to another ones to serve an alcohol. So, and also the recently is the antisocial behavior is raising up by the young people, and I keep witnessing the shoplifting very often in Sainsbury. So, and I don't really see anything this premises will bring into community. So I cannot see anything to bring into community rather than more trouble in the area. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Members, any questions? Anybody else want to question? No, nobody's indicating. Thank you for that. Right, Mr. Korechi, would you like to make your? Sorry. Oh, sorry. It's Mr. Emeloff. I'm so sorry. I can't read this far away. Your name's come up very, very small. I beg your pardon. Now you've got to press the button to get you off mute.
Oh, thank you. I have been run the premises 17 years in the town. So around 300 reduce is another 4 shop which is supplying alcohol. There is no need another one in the town. And I don't know what they're gonna bring which benefit they bring to the town. So I'm working last 6 days a week hard to keep my business alive. I believe you need to look after the old businesses, trades, which is as they obey the rules. That's what I say. All. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members, any questions? No. Does anybody else want to ask a question? I don't think there's any hands indicated. No. That's lovely. Thank you very much. Oh, Mr. Panshell, did you want to?
Yes, ma'am.
Panshell, did you indicate?
Yes, I'd like to.
It's just a question of the Mr. Emeloff.
Yeah. Sorry, ma'am. It's okay. It's fine. I'll put it into my submission. Thank you. Sorry. I do apologize.
That's okay. I just want to make sure everybody's had the opportunity to to speak, basically. Right. So I understand that there's also been another representation from one other person that's not attending this hearing, which the subcommittee has read. It's all in our pack. Right. So now I'm going to give all parties an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. So that's it's going to be Mr. Korechi and Mr. Emeloff. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to answer this. But if there is anything else that you want to say, then this is your opportunity. It's just to sum up, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, for myself, I'm fine. Don't need to make any more comments. Yep.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to say absolutely everything that you wanted to say. Right, so then we go on to Dorset Police. Would you like to sum up? Sorry, Mr. Carr, I missed you out. I'm sure you'd like to say something.
Yeah, I've got a little summing up to do. I'd like to refer back to the planning commission that I just mentioned to you, because I've had my office do a study on the planning commission that's stamped approved has got a bin store which has not got room, as per your James Doughty, which strategic waste officer says that there is not enough room for a commercial waste bin within the existing bin store. But on top of that, it is my opinion that the bin store and the cycle store has been taken away to make space for this unit and obviously the other unit, which we're not talking about at the moment. Waste obviously is a major problem on C stores being convenience stores, as we all know. I mean, I live in Lilliput, and there's substantial amounts of cardboard and waste picked up every morning by Tesco's. So I'd like you to take into consideration where and how are they going to deal with the waste, because I do think that's extremely important. And the last thing we want to see is large amounts of cardboard stacked on the street, which will attract rats and everything else that will go with that. I'd also like to bring to your attention that on the planning permission that I mentioned to you, granted on the 29th of the 4th, 2022, there are a substantial number of pre-commencement conditions. I'd like to just read out a couple of those to you. The development hereby permitted shall not be brought into use until the cycle parking shown on the approved plan has been constructed, and the cycle parking shall therefore be retained and kept available for the purposes of all time. That's for the flats above. Clearly, that's been removed. Point 7, the development hereby permitted shall not be occupied until a refuse management plan has been submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. The plan includes detail of management company, the employment of private contractor, blah, 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 and all of the normal things. But clearly, your own officer here is saying there is not room for any commercial waste. And today, on this application, we've not heard anything about where the waste is going to be kept, and clearly there is no room because they've taken the cycle store and the waste out of the original approved drawings. So broadly speaking, I think we're back to the same old thing, and that is bins. And as I mentioned earlier, I attend the Poolkeys Forum. Your chief executive and the leader of the council were there, and the bin issue in Poole was brought up as a very serious issue because there are bins absolutely everywhere over Poolkey, and a lot of them are from licensed premises. And today, surely, should be the day that we're going to stop bins being stored on the pavement, and this application does not show adequately where bins and refuse are going to be stored. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. I think you strayed into some of the planning, but I see where you're coming from. Right, Dorset Police, do you want to sum up?
I think John was going to say something there. He was just on mute.
I have nothing to say, boss. I thought you may want to say something.
No, we're quite content. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Right, so now we're back to Mr. Panchal as the applicant. Would you like to sum up? And you've,
Thank you very much.
you've said quite a bit, but you know, if you've got anything else to add, it would be
Yes,
helpful.
ma'am. Quick submission to Mr. Amilo and Mr. Kadir in my submission. According to 14.19 of the guidance, need is not something that we could discuss today. So, ma'am, that's just to bring to their attention and your attention at 14.19. Regarding the bins, I'm like to clarify that they have already got a bin room where the bins are put in. There is a collection twice in a week. And if there is required extra, the company has agreed that they would make a phone call to get an extra bin collection if required. Coming back to high strength beers, regarding the stout and the premiums and all that, you could see that on the email appendix 4, it says clearly no high strength beers, lagers and ciders above 5.5 ABV shall be stocked, with the exception of premium beers that shall be removed from immediate customer access. So there will be no stout or beers over 5.5% to be sold. The client in his previous shops, may I bring it to you, although has a license to stock strong beers, but has decided not to stock strong beers because there were some street drinkers around, and to avoid those street drinkers, they did not stock. I'm not going to make much comment onto the license at the Hamilton News. The reason being is I was part of that hearing, and at that hearing, it clearly states that Mr. Sukadia were not the premises license holder when the matters happened. They were in the process of taking over the premises, and once the premises were taken over, there were no breaches at all at that premises. And I could go on and speak more about it, but ma'am, this is not the time for me to discuss that. You can read those through. Ma'am, we feel that the license be granted today.
Thank you, Mr. Panchal. I think that everyone has now had the opportunity to make their representations and sum up. And can I thank you for your patience? This has been a very long meeting, and you know, thank you everybody for their representation. So I'm now going to conclude the hearing, and the subcommittee are going to adjourn now in private with our legal advisor and our clerk to deliberate. And the decision is going to be conveyed to you in writing, as I explained earlier. So I now want to conclude the meeting.